Let's speak to Mehmet Celik, the editorial coordinator of the Turkish newspaper, the Daily Sabah. You're right here in Istanbul. Mehmet, good to see you. Why would Iran attack Turkiye? Turkiye is not in the war. Nato isn't in the war.
Well, Adnan, I mean, that's a very good question, and it's hard to make any sense of why Iran would attack Turkiye. Not because Turkiye, Turkiye has been part of this negotiation process, and Turkiye has been on the side of Iran for many years when it comes to the nuclear negotiations between Iran and the West, let alone our neighbors, our borders that have been the same for centuries. And there had, despite rivalry in some of the regional matters in the past, Turkiye and Iran have coordinated good ties overall. When the issues were, when it comes to, let's say, Israel, for example, they're on the same page. Nevertheless, I think, a naive interpretation of this would be that some groups within Iran that they're not part of the command and chain of command, now acting as lone or as on their own to carry out or to provoke Turkiye. But if this is part of the Iran strategy that has been carried out against the Gulf, and now it is expanding into Turkiye for the second time, I think this is a very miscalculation, to say the least. Let alone a strategy that could benefit Iran by any means.
Mehmet, can you explain the status of the Incirlik military base? Because it is quite different to those bases that the Americans have been operating out of the Gulf. Those are very specifically American bases, I believe, controlled by the Americans on foreign territory, but Incirlik is slightly different.
Well, yeah, there is a different status when it comes to Incirlik, and there's also the Kürecik. But these, to use these bases as an excuse and to attack the Gulf countries or Turkiye, I think in the long term it will not only expand the war into the region, and it will further destabilize the region, but ultimately it will push Iran to a corner where it will be sidelined, it will be isolated. This doesn't serve Iran's strategy for the region, or how Iran wants to build relations with any of the countries in the region, despite the fact that Turkey has 2 U.S. bases within its borders. And regardless of the nature of these, how they are operating, the attacks falling into Turkey's airspace or any Turkey's soil is a violation of its territorial integrity. And Turkey has warned, actually, Mr. Fidan's response was very clear. He said after the first one that the first attack, we could say this was an accident and we will tolerate it, but nobody should get into some sort of adventure by testing Turkey's patience or Turkey's limits when it comes to violation of its territorial integrity.
For any regional leader who might want to get in touch with Tehran and to discuss these attacks against them, how difficult might that be? Because it seems as if there might have been some kind of breakdown in the command structure, whether that was actually organized. Have you heard this phrase of this mosaic defense strategy, that Iran was contemplating this kind of event, attacks on its territory, and if that happened, then there would be decisions made further down the chain that wouldn't normally happen in peacetime. That might make it difficult for any leader to communicate with Tehran to find out its intentions.
You said it very clearly, actually. But when we talk about who can communicate with Iran, which Iran are we talking about? Are we talking about Pezeshkian? Are we talking about the new leader? Are we talking about the IRGC? Are we talking about some other factions or some other groups within the regime itself that are perhaps even making decisions among themselves? Communication is, I think, very difficult at the moment with Iran, because Pezeshkian apologized, and he said, I apologize on my behalf and the people of Iran, when he made the statement. But moments later, after Trump made some statements, this was backtracked, and even a more hardliner position was put forward, and the Iranian regime figures said that all these bases, all these assets of the United States in the region are remaining as the targets of Iran attacks. So which Iran are we going to communicate with is difficult at the moment, unfortunately.
Mehmet Celik, thank you for the analysis. Always appreciate it.